I got to come out and say, all jokes aside, Brittany Griner was an absolute beast tonight. But I'm not sure there was a bigger beast in the arena than the officiating in this game, which was absolutely brutal.
The basketball world is erupting over shocking new footage from the Fever Dream game that's impossible to ignore. Frame-by-frame analysis reveals what many suspected but couldn't prove: a systematic officiating pattern targeting Caitlin Clark, while WNBA executives scramble to contain the fallout. The evidence is damning and impossible to dismiss.
Let's take a look at the final numbers. I got to tell you, number one, shame on the WNBA, because the WNBA and everything that's happened in the last 3 days absolutely wore down this Indiana Fever crowd.
Could this officiating scandal finally force the WNBA to address its apparent bias against the league's biggest star, or will they continue pretending nothing's happening? Drop your thoughts below. Alright, so the Indiana Fever just lost a heartbreaker to the Atlanta Dream, 91-90. Tough loss, no doubt. But that's not the real story here. The real story is what happened within that game, or more accurately, what was allowed to happen to Caitlin Clark throughout that entire contest. Someone with way too much time on their hands, and thank goodness for them, has compiled a comprehensive video breakdown showing every single missed call, phantom foul, and blatant no call involving Clark during the Fever Dream matchup. And let me tell you, this isn't your standard "my team got robbed" compilation. This is methodical, clinical evidence of something far more troubling.
We got to just come out and say it. The original triplets showed up tonight. Aaliyah Boston, 24. Kelsey Mitchell, 24. Caitlin Clark had a monster game. 27 points, 11 assists, 5 rebounds. Those 5 rebounds she had in the first half of the game.
Let's set the scene first. Caitlin Clark had what would normally be considered a monster game. 27 points, 11 assists, 5 rebounds. Those 5 rebounds she grabbed in the first half alone. With this performance, she tied Courtney Vandersloot for the most 20-point, 10-assist games in WNBA history. The difference? Clark has played 42 games. Vandersloot over 400. That's not just breaking records, that's obliterating them.
Fever going without Sophie Cunningham here for their second straight game. They are
two bigs. I think they'll make some adjustments, but they are doing a good job playing with 2 bigs so far.
And there's Clark turning the
Almost didn't hit across midcourt.
Alicia Gray has it denied. Austin sends it back. Clark with numbers. Bounce pass Howard.
Oh, and Clark also became the 4th fastest player in WNBA history to reach 800 career points in this game. So despite everything working against her, she's still making history every time she steps on the court. But that's exactly why this new footage is so disturbing. Imagine what her numbers would look like if she was officiated fairly.
As much as you don't want to have to lose a game like this, is going through some of those end of game situations early help?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I think, yes, this stinks. We want to win this game. But, you know, I think this is great for our team. A little adversity. How are we going to respond? How are we going to come in here tomorrow morning and watch the film and learn and get on the court and get better? And like I said, that's why this league is so great. You have a couple days and then you get right back to it. You find a way to respond. You know, we have a chance to go there and play them, actually, so it's even better, I guess. We can, you know, get a little redemption if we go down there and play well. So
even casual observers noticed something was seriously wrong with the officiating. Connor McCaffrey, Clark's boyfriend, tweeted, "Good to see the W refs in mid-season form. He absolutely cremated them, and good for him." Jason Whitlock chimed in, "This officiating crew is horrible." The sentiment was universal across social media. When you've got casual fans, hardcore basketball junkies, and professional analysts all saying the same thing, maybe, just maybe, there's something to it. But this new compilation takes it beyond opinions and into the realm of undeniable evidence. Let's break down what the footage shows.
Boston continues to show her frustration. It really started a couple.
First, there are at least 7 clear instances where Clark was hit on the arm while shooting with no whistle, not borderline calls. Obvious contact that would be called for literally anyone else in the league. We're talking about defenders hitting her shooting elbow, swiping across her arms, and even one play where she gets essentially tackled from behind while attempting a layup. In one particularly egregious sequence, Clark gets knocked to the ground. on a three-point attempt with the defender clearly making contact with her landing space. A textbook flagrant 1 foul under current rules designed to protect shooters. Not only was there no flagrant called, there wasn't even a common foul. Play continued as Clark picked herself up off the floor. Then there's the defensive end. The compilation shows 4 separate occasions where Clark was called for ticky-tack fouls while playing straight-up defense. In one instance, she's standing completely still with her arms vertical. The Dream player initiates all contact and somehow Clark gets whistled. This is basketball 101. The vertical defender has established position, yet somehow the whistle goes against her. What makes this footage particularly damning is that it shows the same actions being judged completely differently depending on who's involved. There's a side-by-side comparison of Clark fighting through a screen versus a Dream player doing the exact same thing. Clark gets called for a foul, the Dream player doesn't. Same action, same amount of contact, completely different officiating. Standard. The most troubling aspect of all this is that it doesn't look random. Random bad officiating would hurt and help both teams equally. This doesn't look random, it looks targeted and systematic. And that's where the WNBA should be panicking, because this compilation isn't just circulating among hardcore basketball fans. It's going mainstream. Even 2-time Masters champion Bubba Watson, who attended the game, seemed perplexed by what he was witnessing. When you've got celebrities from other sports noticing the discrepancy in officiating, you've got a serious problem on your hands. Let's be clear about something. Physical defense is part of basketball. Nobody's asking for Clark to get special treatment or for defenders to be unable to guard her properly. What people are asking for is consistency. The same rules applied the same way for everyone on the court. That's not happening right now. And this new footage proves it beyond any reasonable doubt. Now the question becomes, why? Why would WNBA officials seemingly target the league's biggest star? It doesn't make logical sense from a business perspective. Clark is bringing unprecedented attention to the league. Arenas are selling out. TV ratings are skyrocketing. She's the golden goose. So why cook it? The theories range from the benign to the conspiratorial. Some suggest it's just old school basketball mentality. Make the young star earn her stripes before she gets veteran calls. That might have made sense in Clark's rookie season, but she's well into her sophomore year now, breaking records left and right. The paying dues period should be over. Others point to a more troubling possibility, that there's actual directive from somewhere within the WNBA ecosystem to manage Clark's impact through officiating. That sounds far-fetched until you looked at some of the league's actions and statements over the past year. There seems to be an uncomfortable relationship with Clark's popularity, almost like some within the power structure are resistant to one player becoming so much bigger than everyone else. The most damning evidence supporting this theory comes from the WNBA's own broadcast partner. During a recent studio segment, an analyst accidentally mentioned talking points they'd received about how to discuss Clark. The hot mic caught them saying, "Remember what they told us about balancing the Clark coverage with," before being cut off. That's not speculation. That happened on air. There are literally talking points being distributed about how to discuss Caitlin Clark. And now this new footage suggests the management might extend beyond media narratives and into the actual gameplay itself. That's where this becomes a serious integrity issue for the league. The WNBA's response so far has been deafening silence. No statements acknowledging concerns about officiating. No explanations for the clear discrepancies. Not even the standard "we're reviewing the game" that leagues typically offer when controversial calls occur. Just silence, which in crisis management is usually the worst possible approach. Meanwhile, the Indiana Fever crowd seemed almost subdued during this game, which is unusual given their normally electric atmosphere for Clark's games. As one observer put it, the WNBA and everything that's happened in the last 3 days absolutely wore down this Indiana Fever crowd from the very beginning of this game. That crowd, you could tell, was just fatigued. They were worn out. He's referring, of course, to the baseless investigation into alleged racist comments during the previous Fever game against the Chicago Sky, an investigation that was launched based solely on unverified Twitter posts with no video or audio evidence supporting the claims. An investigation that even the Sky's coach, who previously worked for Indiana, said was unnecessary because he heard nothing inappropriate from the crowd. That investigation is still ongoing, by the way, with the WNBA announcing they have no timeline for completion. Meanwhile, they're allowing the cloud of suspicion to hang over Indiana's fan base, potentially affecting the atmosphere at home games and even putting the All-Star game scheduled for Indianapolis at risk. It all feels connected, part of a larger pattern of actions that seem designed to minimize, control, or contain the Caitlin Clark effect rather than embrace it. And that's where the WNBA's strategy becomes completely incomprehensible from a business standpoint. Think about this. Clark is bringing millions of new viewers to women's basketball. She's attracting celebrities from other sports like Bubba Watson. She's getting mainstream media attention that the WNBA has desperately sought for decades. And now, in any rational world, the league would be doing everything possible to support and protect this asset. Instead, they're allowing her to get beaten up on the court without proper officiating protection. They're investigating her team's fan base based on unsubstantiated Twitter rumors. They're seemingly trying to balance coverage of her despite her historic achievements. It's organizational malpractice at a level that's almost impossible to comprehend. What makes this particularly frustrating is how it affects the actual basketball being played. The Fever Dream game should have been a showcase of exciting women's basketball. Instead, as multiple observers noted, it became brutal to watch because of the constant inconsistent whistles. One analyst described it as a game that was slowed down most of the game. So many damn foul calls in this game made it visually hard to watch at times. This is exactly what basketball fans don't want to see. They tune in for the athleticism, the skill, the competition, not to watch referees take center stage with their whistles. And when those whistles seem to be applied unequally, it undermines the entire product. The irony here is that Clark herself never complains about the officiating. She's remarkably composed for a player in her position. She doesn't whine to refs, doesn't throw tantrums, doesn't make excuses in press conferences. She just plays basketball at an historically elite level and lets her game speak for itself. Her professionalism in the face of this treatment makes the situation even more glaring. Her teammates see it too. Aaliyah Boston, who had 24 points in this game, has become increasingly vocal about the physical treatment Clark receives without appropriate whistles. Kelsey Mitchell, who also scored 24, has made similar observations. These aren't just teammates sticking up for a star. They're elite players themselves who recognize the inconsistency in how the game is being officiated. What's particularly disappointing is how this affects the viewing experience for new fans. The WNBA has a golden opportunity right now to convert millions of casual viewers into hardcore fans. When those viewers tune in and see obvious officiating disparities, it creates a negative impression that's hard to overcome. The game is rigged is not the takeaway any sports league wants new fans to have. The compilation also highlights another troubling pattern, how physical defense against Clark seems to be encouraged by the lack of whistles. Defenders know they can get away with more contact, more grabbing, more bumping when guarding her. This not only affects her performance, but potentially puts her at injury risk. The last thing the WNBA should want is their biggest star sidelined, because officials allowed excessive contact. So what happens now? The compilation is spreading rapidly across social media. Mainstream sports outlets are starting to pick up the story. The evidence is too clear, too comprehensive to be dismissed as biased fan grievances. The WNBA will eventually need to address it. Their options are limited. They could acknowledge the inconsistency and promise to do better, the most straightforward approach, but one that would require admitting a problem exists. They could ignore it and hope it blows over. Their current strategy, but one that becomes less viable as more evidence accumulates. Or they could double down and suggest the compilation is misleading or selective. A risky approach given how clear the footage is. Whatever path they choose, the damage is already done to some extent. The narrative is forming, and it's not a flattering one for the league. The WNBA is uncomfortable with Caitlin Clark's popularity and is using officiating to limit her impact. Fans aren't stupid. They can see what's happening. When Clark drives to the basket and gets hammered with no whistle, then a Dream player gets barely touched on the other end and heads to the free throw line. The contrast is obvious even to casual observers. This compilation just puts all those moments together in one undeniable package. What's most frustrating about this situation is how unnecessary it is. There's no actual conflict between Clark's success and the success of other WNBA stars or the league as a whole. Rising tides lift all boats. When more people watch Fever games because of Clark, they also discover players like Aja Wilson, Brianna Stewart, Sabrina Ionescu, Angel Reese, and dozens of other incredible athletes. Her popularity brings attention to everyone. The metrics Support this. Viewership is up across all WNBA broadcasts, not just Fever games. Social media engagement has increased for all teams. Merchandise sales are up league-wide. Clark's popularity isn't taking anything away from other players. It's adding value to the entire ecosystem. For a league that has struggled for decades to achieve mainstream relevance and financial sustainability, this approach defies comprehension. It's like being handed a winning lottery ticket and complaining about the tax implications. The WNBA is at a crossroads. They can embrace this moment, address the officiating concerns, conclude their baseless investigation, and focus on the incredible basketball being played. Or they can continue down this current path, alienating new fans and undermining their own product at the precise moment they should be celebrating its success. As one analyst put it, the WNBA, through officiating, is going to hold Clark and those Fever back. They're going to make games ugly, physical, and boring. They will use crap officiating to take away what this team is. Beautiful fun to watch. Let's hope that prediction doesn't come true, because if it does, the WNBA will have squandered the greatest opportunity for growth in its history. And that would be the real tragedy in all of this. The evidence is now undeniable. Frame-by-frame footage exposes how officials are handling Clark differently from everyone else on the court. Will the WNBA address this growing scandal or continue pretending it doesn't exist? Hit that like button, subscribe now, and comment fair whistles if you want consistent officiating.